I
justification.
don't mind, but you were acting like a bit snarky and stuff. So
But well, what problem is God solving?
he's the thing that's ultimate, that can account for all of the things. He's the necessary. He accounts for all of the necessary preconditions of the world in the way that it is. He is the necessary being.
So, like, you
Right.
understand, like, when I lock my door, I say I'm securing my house against intruders, right? Um, so, whenever I
Yeah, but you
say,
could secure your money in a safe as well. Like,
yeah, and that would be securing it against theft. So, when
well,
God
maybe
secures something, what is he securing it against?
okay, what you could put an animal in a cage so that it doesn't run away.
Right, yeah.
Right. That's the whole point. So what is
he's
that's the
limiting
whole
us
point.
essentially for our own good. Like the reality is brought into existence in the way that it is by God. It's upheld and sustained by Him. We're obviously limited in some regard. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. That's potentially for a good thing. You're just trying to make out like you're trying to protect against some burglar or something for some reason,
Well,
which
I'm
I
just
don't
saying,
understand.
like
But
that's
what
how I
I'm saying
use
is like,
that's how
yeah,
I use
there's,
the word secure, right? I secure something
oh
against
yeah,
some bad possibility.
yeah, but you could also like secure a vulnerable person and make sure that they're safe,
Right, against some bad possibility.
or just against themselves
Sure,
for
sure.
the good of their health. Yeah. So there's all sorts of like it's.
Yeah,
I don't think
there's
that's the word you're looking for. It's not. It's not clear enough, bro.
secure. Oh, but I'm asking why you're using it. And I gave examples of how I use it, and I'm just wondering if
Yeah.
you're using it in the
I
same
said
way.
sustain, uphold. I gave you different words. Maintain.
So maintains the truth of propositions.
Yeah, he maintains the order in the universe, the truth of all, you know, all true things. He upholds and maintains them in every way. He's the ultimate mind that accounts for the context in which things act, basically.
And if things weren't maintained, what would happen?
If they weren't maintained, like the physical world wouldn't exist in the way that it does if it wasn't created and maintained.
Well, let's grant
Like the
creation for
order,
now.
like the order by which the laws of nature, like obviously they've got continuity, right?
Hmm.
So why is that?
Well, I think for
There
good
has to be
reason.
some necessary thing. Well, I mean, how could you justify that? You think that things have continuity for no reason?
Yeah.
Well, so you think that the physical world is it eternal?
I don't know. Maybe I would lean towards yes, but I don't know.
So you believe in like some kind that's not possible anyway. I mean, obviously you're just saying you don't know, so
Yeah,
I
it might
doubt that
not
we're going
be.
to get a clear position out of you. So you're just basically agnostic to everything, and then you're trying to critique my position when you've not got a position.
No, I'm not agnostic about contingency. I'd say that's an absolutely knowable fact.
Okay, but like you're okay. So how could you say, oh, that my position is flawed when you've not even got a position to critique it from?
But that is the position I critique it from. That um, like things are contingent and changeable. Some things do, some things don't.
But based in what? Like, what context do you have for that? Where's that coming from? Like,
What context?
yeah, is it just based on your mind? Is it based on consensus? Like, what's it based on?
It's based on an argument. So
Okay, and what makes that thing true?
The claim that everything's contingent.
Yeah, what makes it true for you?
The lack of contradiction in the claim that some entity does not exist.
How do you know that there's no contradiction? How do you know that it's important to abide by the law of identity and the law of non-contradiction, the law of excluded middle? Why is that the case?
Well, I mean, like you ask why it's important. The only reason why it would be important is to be able to have intelligible conversations, right? If you don't care about that, then it doesn't matter. Or
Well, we could
survival,
get
I
into
guess.
whether people exist, but
I'm sorry?
well, how do you know whether people exist?
No, that'd be an inductive argument.
So what, you'd use your sense perception in order to validate that?
That other beings behave the way I do? Yeah.
That they exist?
Yeah.
Okay, how can you justify that?
So, I think that, if we're going to write out a list of things...
The stack of cards is going to crumble. So this is it, right?
If we're gonna,
I can provide a
answer.
coherent explanation right all the way down. This guy can't, obviously. He's trying to critique my position from what is essentially a house of cards that crumbled right there, you know?
Well, so
that's
yeah,
all
I
it
can just
is.
explain. So
now,
I
don't mind answering your questions and stuff like that, but like these weird, like, you know, you're trying to make out like the things that I'm saying don't make sense when actually I've got a well-reasoned position. You're like, well, why couldn't it be this way or that way? Like, endlessly, right?
No,
well, I mean, we can go down those different routes, but if you don't like the answer I'm giving, then surely you're going to provide some other, you know, argument to back it up, which you're not willing to do. You're just critiquing the things that I'm saying, but you're not even working from some kind of rational basis to do it.
But so it's not. You cut me off 3 sentences. You cut me off 2 words in.
Yeah.
So
I think that you stopped. I think that you stopped justifying you were going to avoid the question. So I think everybody already could tell that. So I just moved on.
I was about to explain my position.
Okay, then go on.
Yeah. So like the list of things that exist, you can't purely logic your way to that, right? Because nothing exists. What's that?
How do you know that? How do you know you can't purely logic your way to the existence of the material external world?
To the list of any particular things that exist, because no particular thing exists with logical necessity. Like a matter of fact, something exists, but it doesn't have to with logical necessity. So you can't use logic.
Okay, so you're saying that you can't have like the same kind of context and understanding of the material external world if you can't use your sense perception in order to engage with it.
Well, yeah, you need stuff that is not pure logic to get a list of things that exist.
Okay. So that didn't answer the thing that I was saying, though, did it?
Okay, restate the question if that wasn't an answer.
Well, I was asking you how you could know other people exist.
Yeah, it would be an inductive argument using experience and other things.
So you use your experience, and how do you know that your sense perception is giving you a reliable picture of the external world?
I don't know what the alternative is.
So you've just not got an argument.
Things appear to me
it's a necessary precondition.
Things appear to me the way they appear.
That's not necessary. That's not a necessary precondition.
It's not what?
Not necessary that your senses.
There is an argument that you can use to justify it, but he's not justified in his position from within the framework he's arguing.
I'm sure I am.
We're justified in the Christian worldview because God has revealed the world clearly. You don't believe that, so you're going to have to provide some other form of justification for why it is that way. And then if you can't, or you say I don't care, then, you know, I don't. Why would I be endlessly giving you justifications for your, like, what you know, my position to somebody that's trying to critique my position from no basis whatsoever?
But I didn't ask you for
I
a
don't,
justification.
I don't mind, but you were acting like a bit snarky and stuff. So
But I didn't
that's
ask for
why
a
I started
justification.
critiquing your position. I was like, look, if you're going to act like that, why don't you actually give us some kind of argument that makes sense?
I didn't
And you
ask for a
can't.
justification.
So
Right? I just asked for a clarification.
what do you want clarified?
Well, like what the alternative is, right? You said God does things like, well, we'll just grant creation for now. Okay, we'll just say God created everything. But you say you also say He secures, sustains, and some other words. And like I'm asking, what's the alternative if God didn't sustain and
There's
secure
not an
things?
alternative. There's no alternative. If God didn't, if the necessary being didn't uphold and sustain the world in the way that it is and create it in the way that it is, then there isn't any way that we'd exist.
Why? Like we're talking after creation, right? Why would that be true? Now I'm
Why
asking
would
for
it be the case
justification.
that I don't get what you're asking. Like God keeping the world orderly.
Right. So we'll say
I mean,
God
he's
created
asking
the
like,
world.
what's your justification for that?
I don't get what you mean.
Aren't
Like
you
Like
just
if
asking
you're
God,
saying that why
justification for that?
wouldn't God is the necessary power that holds together the world in the way that it is. It's it gives context and meaning and purpose to everything in the universe. Like when one atom hits another atom, that's because God has maintained the order by which those things interact. Like I can't understand what you're saying when you keep saying like, what would it look like without that? Well, that thing's already there.
yeah,
That is there.
yeah. So
So
like
I don't understand how you could say it's not there, or how would it exist? How would the world exist if particles didn't interact in this orderly manner?
yeah. So like we're granting God created everything, but if He stopped sustaining it, then what would happen?
It wouldn't exist.
Like everything would just wink out of existence?
Like the universe would, if God stopped making it so that things would still they'd either be in a static state, or then there'd be some change which God would have to uphold and secure the order in.
Um,
God is the thing that secures the order in those things. So there would either be no change at all, it would just be in a static state, or it would be changing, and then there'd have to be some kind of basis in which it's changing. There'd have to be some context in which it changed.
and just so I understand that
And
that's your answer.
even if for there to be distinction in the thing, then there would have to be some kind of a mind to account for the distinction,
And
So
just so I'm clear, that's your answer to what would happen if God stopped upholding things. It would either be stasis or change.
it would just have to. I don't see how it's possible, bro. It makes no sense. I can't comprehend a world where there isn't some kind of power that's upholding and securing some kind of rule set or context in which things are acting.
But
It wouldn't be a world if there wasn't some kind of context in which it would true.
but if we don't know what would happen if God stopped upholding things, then I don't know
I
what
just
it
don't get
means to
what you
say.
mean by that. Does anybody else get what he means by that? Can someone explain that in different words? I mean, I feel like I've answered it. I've said,
But we can give.
and it's a new question, but I just don't think I don't think that you could. It makes no sense to have a world like that. God is the power that it's the thing that upholds and secures truth. It's the thing that sustains the system by which things operate. If things are operating and there's some kind of distinction, then there's a necessary thing that can account for that. You're saying, how could it operate and have like identity and things like that in a world with no context.
Well, we can draw an analogy.
I don't see how that's possible.
We can draw an analogy from the normal human world, right? We'd say, like, the UK government upholds UK laws, and if the UK government disappeared, then so would UK laws, because, right? Like, there would no longer be a UK legal system, so there'd be no laws to speak
like
of.
what you're describing isn't the same thing, because there's still physical beings within the realm that operate based on some kind of limitation and rule set.
Right. So, but my point is, it's an
this
example.
idea that you're like removing the authority that upholds and sustains that by taking out the British government isn't analogous, because there's still order.
Sure. Yeah. It's an imperfect analogy, but like the point is,
Yeah,
we're
so
saying,
like I've already said it like 5 times. I can't understand what you mean. There's no possibility of a world like that. If there's identity and order, if there's just identity or order, then there has to be some kind of context and authority.